Welcome aboard the Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon video series, where we're dedicated to helping first-time and experienced boat buyers find the right boat at the best price, so they have years and years of boating fun, because life truly is better on a boat. Today's video series is sponsored by Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon Toolkit at boatbuyerssecretweapon.com. And today we're going to talk about how to buy a used boat in Texas. Each state has its own unique attributes when buying a boat, and Texas, being one of the largest states, boating states in the country, we're going to talk about how to spot a scam. Because of the number of boats, the variety of boats, the different boating areas, there are some scams to be on the lookout for. Common for sale by owners issues to avoid, options to consider, especially in Texas, how to avoid someone else's headache. One of the biggest issues when looking to buy a used boat. Must do inspections before buying, financing and insurance tips, and if you stay to the end, we've got a free gift for you. So there was research done a couple years ago that 1 in 7 boats listed on Craigslist had a major issue or was an outright scam. There are things that you need to be on the lookout for. And Craigslist is probably the largest, our most densely populated scams are outright issues, because it's free for a consumer to list it, so people will do almost anything. Boat Trader is a little bit better, but some of these issues can come up on a boat that you find listed at the marina, sitting on the side of the road, found in other ways, found on Facebook. So let's talk about some red flags. Now, I mentioned these as red flags. They are not run away from this boat and don't go any further. They're, hey, if you notice 1 or 2 of these, that's a red flag. Be a little bit more cautious, be a little slower in taking action, and especially in sending money. The first is no phone contact and poor grammar in email. If they are absolutely will not provide a phone number, will not contact you via phone, will not have a conversation with you, and when they do speak to you by email, the grammar is really bad. Now, that is not an indication that is 100% a scam. But what happens is many scams, they take an image from a boat for sale in Texas, and they list it on Craigslist as if it was their boat, and they don't even own it. They've kind of pirated that listing and are going to try to sell the boat that they don't even have. It's not even theirs. Now, it could be that English isn't their second language, or they're like me and they just have poor grammar, as you'll notice as we speak. But that is a red flag if they won't get on the phone and have a conversation with you. If they ask for money up front. Now, anytime somebody asks for money up front and you haven't spoken with them, or you're not getting access to the boat yet, that's going to be an issue. Even if they say, hey, let's use an escrow service here. Let's use this escrow service. There have been incidents where the escrow service is a fake. It's a website that will take your money, looks like an escrow service, but it actually is not an escrow service, and it goes directly to the fraudster. So just be on the lookout. If you want to use an escrow service, escrow.com is one of the largest in the U.S., and that would be, if you're in control of choosing who the escrow service is, then I would be much more comfortable. They won't allow you to inspect the boat. That is a major red flag. How can you determine what the value of the boat is if you're not able to inspect it? There are things that could, on the surface, a boat could look like a $50,000 boat, one of the best values out there. Man, you're getting a great deal, and when you go to pick up the boat, the engine is froze, and there's a major defect with it, or it's overheated and the compression is bad, and now you have a $50,000 boat that seemed like a great deal that's worth $25,000. So be aware that if you can't inspect the boat, you're taking a lot of risks, and you want to be cautious of that. No title, or the title's in a different name. One of the major issues that they found in that research study was titling issues. The boat was in good shape, it looked fine, but it had a salvage title, it did not have a title, or the title was in a different name. So, Bob Smith was trying to sell the boat, but the title was in Jim Jones's name. Well, there's some red flags. That might cause some issues when you go to register your boat, or when you go to sell your boat, and now you've got a major financial loss coming your way, a major headache, a major time drain, or maybe it's found that that boat was stolen, or that boat had some something odd going on with it, and you lose everything. The boat has water damage because it sank. Now, if you're on the coast of Florida and you have hurricanes that, when hurricanes come through, there's a lot of water damage. There's a lot of boats that are salvaged. There's a lot of boats that are totaled out completely, and most of them have water damage. Water damage on a boat can leave a lot of unidentifiable issues. That water gets down into the stringers and the structure of the boat. The water gets into the cabin. Next thing you know, you got mold and mildew. You've got rot with the wood. You've got soft floor. You've got to replace the stringers and the structure of the boat. Can be a major issue. Water gets into the engine. You're not going to be able to notice it. Rust and corrosion start, and maybe you have a completely ruined engine that has been submerged in water, and the boat that you thought was a great deal is now all of a sudden a gigantic headache. And the final one is they won't allow you to do a sea trial. They won't allow you to get out on the boat and test it. Now, as a practical person, I wouldn't want everybody running my boat. I would want to make sure that they're serious about it, and I would say, hey, let's negotiate the price and assume that everything goes well. You'll buy the boat, and then we'll test it. So we'll test it, and then I'll get the money that same day, and we're on your way. That to me is totally reasonable. What's not reasonable is I need the money, and then you test it after I have the money and the boat's yours. To me, that is unreasonable, and I would walk away from most deals. Now, if it seems like an absolute steal, you run it on the hose, maybe. But issue with compression, we'll talk about the biggest inspection point you need to take. If there's an issue with the engine, it may run fine on the hose, but when you get under load and you're out actually running in open water, you can find something that is going to be a very expensive repair. So we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So in Texas, what kind of expenses can you expect? Well, sales tax, 6.25% on a purchase. If you're trading a boat, if you're working with the dealer and you're going to trade, it's the sales price less the trade value that they give you. So if you're buying a $100,000 boat and they're going to give you a $50,000 value on your trade, you only pay that 6.25% on the $50,000 on the difference. So something to consider if you're looking at, oh, maybe I'll sell my boat myself because I can get a little bit more for it. Well, take into account that sales price discount is needs to be taken into account. Titling fees, $32 to $200. It's dependent on length and some other issues, some other criteria. And there's no yearly property tax. There's another video that we've done on the true cost of boat ownership, and we go into this a little bit more in detail so you know exactly what maintenance and fuel and insurance and that kind of stuff is going to cost. But Texas has no property tax. If you want to get more details, this is not legal or tax advice. This is just some research I did to put it all in a simple spot for you. You can go to the comptroller.texas.gov and follow that link, and you go to the publication, which is the update, which has the sales tax and the titling fee. You can also go to the wildlife department and you go to fish boat/boat, and you can find the details there as well. So what type of boats will you be looking at? Well, in Texas, there's a number of them, but the first choice that you want to make is, hey, what style do you want? Do you want a deck boat, a bow rider, a pontoon, a center console, aluminum fishing boat? What is the style that's right for you? We've got a video on first-time boat buyers. You can go check that out, and it goes into a lot more detail in the style of boat that you're looking for. Stern drive versus outboards. If you're on a freshwater lake and you like that easy access to the water, the one on the left, that stern drive, is a great option. It gives you easy access to the water, great for kids jumping in. If you're on the coast, the outboards. The outboards are a great option for saltwater environments. They're also very efficient. They're easy to maintain, less expensive to maintain. They're very quiet. They're a great option, and they're becoming a better option even for freshwater boaters. They're very light, so they're very economical. The cost is coming down on those. Since 2010, the technology has been getting really good on the four strokes, and that's an option that you might want to consider. Again, we did a video on different drive types: stern drives, outboards, jet drives, and V drives, or direct drives, true inboard boats. And you can check that out at boatbuyerssecretweapon.com. There will also be links in the YouTube notes. Options. When you're looking at options on a boat, there's some options that once you choose that, you can't change it, like the sun pad or the walkthrough. Once you get a boat with that layout, that's what it is. It's very difficult to change it. There's other options like a bimini top, a canvas cover, a wake tower, a head compartment that you may be able to add to the boat, but they may be very expensive. A bimini top, which seems like a simple thing, could cost you $1,000 to $2,000. So if you're comparing two boats, one has a bimini and one doesn't, and you know you want that shade, well, guess what? This boat is going to cost an extra $2,000 maybe to get it to where you want it, and you've got to install it, and you've got to find the right one versus finding a boat that already has it. Something to consider when you're making your decisions about some of those bigger options that that could be expensive. Excuse me. Oh, my allergies are going crazy. So when you do find the right boat, and you've watched our other videos on how to find the right deck boat, the right aluminum fishing boat, the right pontoon or tri-toon, the right bow rider, the right center console, and you've gone deeper into that, you want to inspect the boat. The first thing you want to do is check that the floor is solid. If it's before 2000s, in the 90s, they used to use aluminum, marine grade plywood on the deck of the floor. They've got smarter and smarter and have started encapsulating that plywood, taking wood out altogether because of the rot. On some of the older boats, you want to make sure that that floor is sturdy, that it's solid. Kind of bounce up and down on it a little bit, lightly, gently. If it is soft, you could potentially go through. It's a hazard, but you want to make sure that floor is sturdy. You want to check the fiberglass bottom if it's a fiberglass boat. Make sure that there's no blisters, that there's no big gouges that are way through the gel coat and into the fiberglass, into the resin. Now, it's likely just a cosmetic issue if it's just scratching through that gel coat, which is the shiny outer paint almost, into the fiberglass. The fiberglass is typically an inch thick or more on the bottom of the boat, but you want to be aware of what the issues are. Go through the electronics, the stereo systems, the lights, the gauges, the switches. Now, some of these you won't be able to test on land. You'll need to be in the water, and we'll talk about that. But my goal with buying a used boat is know everything that's wrong with the boat so you can make a smart decision on if it's the right boat to buy at that price. Go through the canvas, the upholstery. Are there any rips and tears? Are the snaps on the canvas? Is it in good shape? Are there any seams ripping? Again, it can be expensive to replace the upholstery, to buy a new canvas cover or a new bimini top. Check the hatches, the latches, the wiring, and corrosion. Especially if you're in a saltwater environment or looking at a boat that has maybe more than 10 years on it. Some of that corrosion, some of the wiring issues can be a major headache and hassle and very expensive to troubleshoot and repair. Hatches and latches break and may not shut properly. You want to know about all these things so you know exactly what you're dealing with. Climb up under the helm compartment, look at that wiring, look at the battery, look at all the ends, and make sure that there's not an excessive corrosion issue, and make sure that all the wiring looks in good condition. Ask the age of the fuel. When's the last time that this fuel was run? When did you fill it up last? The last time the boat was ran. Fuel can go bad if the fuel has been sitting in there for 2 years or more. You may have a major issue on your hand where you need to pump that fuel out and put in new. You may have other issues with the fuel pump, with the fuel lines, and some of those other fuel, the water separator. The last time the boat's been ran. You may think, oh, I found a boat that's been sitting in the barn for the last 5 years, and it's in excellent condition. The fiberglass looks brand new. The upholstery looks great. Everything is in perfect condition. Well, that's great for the cosmetics, but for the mechanical pieces, those engines need to be run. Pumps need to be run. Anything that moves needs to run and stay lubricated. It can rust, it can seize, it can cause major issues. So if that's the case, you certainly want to make sure that you follow the engine inspection steps right here. Ask for the engine hours, the oil and fluids. When's the last time they were changed? Then check them yourself. Do a compression check. In my opinion, the most important inspection that you'll do on any power boat that you buy. The compression is how strong that engine fires compared to what was spec'd out when it was brand new. So 180 pounds of pressure, maybe PSI per cylinder, maybe the range that it should be in, and it should be in a 10% up or down from that. So not only do they need to be at that level of when it was new, you can look that up online pretty easily, but you also want to make sure there's not a big gap from one cylinder to another. Now, in the show notes on YouTube, you can buy a compression gauge for $20-$30. They're pretty inexpensive. They're pretty easy to use. If that's outside of your comfort zone, you can hire a mechanic to do a inspection for $100-$200, depending on where you are in Texas. But that will tell you that the engine is firing as strong as it should be. So again, an engine can run fine on the hose and sound good, but that compression issue will come up when you're out on the water and you're trying to pull up a skier, or you go wide open throttle with 3 or 4 people in the boat, and that's when the low compression is going to get you. It can come from a number of things: freeze damage, overheating. So it can a boat that's a year old that overheated for some reason. Maybe they ran it on the trailer, maybe they sucked up a plastic bag and they didn't catch it. Something weird happened with the impeller. Well, that could cause an issue with the cylinder, cause compression to be low, and everything else about the boat would be perfect. That's why it's to me the most important inspection piece on the mechanical side. The prop condition. Spin that prop, make sure that everything's straight, that it's not wobbling. The drive condition on a stern drive. If the boat's been left in the water, it may find some major corrosion on that stern drive. That could be indicative of other issues with the bellows and some of the other components that may need to be repaired. So just check that drive out and do your inspection there. On the test drive, the sea trial, the demo ride, whatever you want to call it, if you're buying a boat that's used, I suggest you start it cold, which means it's ready to go and you're the first one to start it up. It's going to you listen to it. It's going to tell you, does it start easily? Does it start hard? How does it sound right when it starts? Does something weird happen? Listen to it at idle. Just let it sit in the water at the dock and let it idle for a minute or two. Just listen. Does it sound good? Does it sound rough? Does it sound like it's going to cut out? Is it smoking? Is it burning up? What's going on with it? Once you've idled it, you've gone through some of this. Is a great time to go through all the switches and the pumps while it's sitting there idling. Get a sense of what works, what doesn't, how it works. Idle out to the open water. Now, make sure that you're safe. If you're not a competent driver, bring a competent driver with you, and just idle out. How does it sound when you're idling? It may sound a little bit different than when you're just sitting in the dock in neutral, but just in idle speed. What's that sound like? In open water, when you're safe, open it up to 3/4 throttle about. And do turns to the port, to the starboard, to the left and right. Now, if you're running a boat with quad 800 horsepower, maybe 3/4 throttle is too much. Do it at a safe speed, but do some tight turns. How does it feel? Does it hold in the water? Does it cavitate? Does something cut out? Does it steer hard to one side or the other? That's related to a stiff steering cable. And not just the force of the prop, which is going to make it turn harder to typically the right side. Adjust the trim. Adjust the trim tabs if it has trim tabs. How does it sound? How does it run? Now, once you've gone through that, you've done some wide open throttle, you've done some 3/4 throttle turns, you've got a good sense of the engine, come back to neutral, just sit in the middle of the water in open space and go in gear, forward, 1, 2, 3, neutral, 1, 2, 3, reverse, 1, 2, 3, neutral, 1, 2, 3. Just go in and out of gear a couple of times, nice and slow and easy. Does it shift easy, or does it feel like maybe that shift cable needs to be changed, if it's a model with a cable, if it's fly-by-wire, is it going in and out of gear properly, if it's a newer electronic shift and control. Listen to that sound. As you're sitting there, look for water spitting out, if it's an outboard, spitting out of that pitot tube, that pee hole. You can see that little red arrow. If you're just sitting at idle, it may be just dribbling out. When you're in gear and you're underway, it's going to get a little bit firmer, a little steadier, a harder stream. That could be indicative of the impeller need to be replaced. That's a $200 job if you need that impeller replaced, and something that if you don't do can cause major issues with your engine. So you want to know that the impeller's in good condition. You also want to ask that question: when's the last time you changed your impeller? If your boat has a trailer, while it's off the trailer is the proper time to do the trailer inspection. A trailer for a 20-foot boat can be $3,000 to $5,000. So you want to make sure that the trailer is in good condition, because that can be a very expensive replacement. If the trailer's older, you're buying a $5,000 boat, and man, the boat's in great shape, trailer looks rough. If you need to replace that trailer, it's not so easy. We've done a video on trailers. You can check that out. We go into a lot of detail, but check the winch stands, the straps, the lights, the bunks, the axles and bearings. I've heard stories of, especially in saltwater, buy a new boat, going down the road, you hit a curb or a pothole and the axle snaps in half. Can be major problems. Tires blow on trailers all the time. Tires wear out with miles, and they also get old with time. They just sit there and they can dry rot, and it's nothing to blow a tire. If you buy a single axle trailer, you're heading home and that tire blows, you're left on the side of the road with your brand new boat, and you've got a $150 replacement tire to buy along with the hassle. And it's best to do it while it's off the trailer. Financing. There's a video on financing that you can find on the site, boatbuyerssecretweapon.com. If you're buying used, local credit unions. If you're buying from a dealer, check with the dealers and marine lenders. Typically, local and national banks aren't as good on the overall terms. Credit unions typically offer the lowest down payments and a low rate. Their terms are a little bit shorter, so the payments are a little higher. Dealer's lender will give you a great combination of the lowest payment, a good competitive term. They'll typically want 10 to 20% down. Same thing with marine lenders. Insurance. Most boats in the Texas area, $500 to $1,200 per year. It'll be contingent based on your personal history. Have you owned a boat? As you get up into the bigger boats, 30, 40 feet, that might have a major impact. If you've been a boat owner before, how fast the boat goes, where you're going to keep the boat. If you're on the coast in a hurricane area, that could have an impact. You could be over that $1,200 a year mark for sure. And then obviously the value of the boat. There's another video on insurance. We go into a lot of detail on the insurance, what to look for in the actual policy, because not all policies are created equal. If you're buying a used boat, boat history report is the Carfax for boats. All of those issues that you found, the 107 salvage titles, titles not matching the name of the person trying to sell it, water damage, if there's been a hurricane, if there's been any type of insurance claim, they're hooked up to all of the databases in the states, and they can pull up those records. And for I think it's like $50 or something like that, you can get a very good insurance policy that you're not going to have an issue. If you're buying a $25,000 boat, to me, that's money well spent. You can also get a subscription for it if you're looking at a lot of different boats, and you can pull as many as you want. That link is in the show notes as well. Mention if you stayed to the end that we got a free gift for you. It's the Boat Buyer Secret Weapon Toolkit. This toolkit is a great tool if you're looking to buy a boat. It's gonna keep you on the right track to find the right boat. Keep track of the boats that you do look at and call on to make sure you don't get them mixed up, that you find the right ones. It's going to help you get it, walk you through the demo, walk you through financing, walk you through insurance. If you've got a trade, it helps you with that. It gives you questions to ask boat dealers and private sellers. It's a fantastic tool, and you can get that at boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/toolkit. There's also more videos that we referenced Those are in the notes down below. Here's a couple recommended for you. And remember, life truly is better on a boat.